Hi everyone, it's Donovan. Today we delve into a case that chills to the bone. A story that unfolds in a place many would call idyllic, yet became the stage for an unspeakable tragedy. We're exploring the harrowing events of the Candy Family Massacre. Yukon, Oklahoma, a thriving suburban town just west of Oklahoma City, often called the City of Homes. It's known for its welcoming, family-friendly atmosphere, good schools, and the kind of quiet streets where kids ride bikes and neighbors greet each other. It's the image of American tranquility. But on a spring day in 2024, that image was shattered. Imagine the sheer, unadulterated terror. A 10-year-old boy waking up on what should have been an ordinary Monday morning. He steps out of his room, perhaps still sleepy, expecting the usual sounds of his family starting their day. Instead, silence. A silence that precedes a discovery so horrific it's the stuff of nightmares. His entire family, his father, his mother, his 3 older brothers, gone. Their lives violently extinguished. The story we're about to unfold is profoundly heartbreaking, deeply frightening. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How well do we truly know those closest to us, and are we ever completely safe, even in our own homes? There are moments in these investigations when you just wish it was all a terrible dream, that you could blink and the nightmare would end and everyone would still be here. The Candy family, from all outward appearances, was the epitome of a normal, happy American household. Jonathan and Lindsay Candy with their 4 boys. They could have been your neighbors, the family you see at school events, the ones who always seem to have it together. Friends and neighbors in their close-knit cul-de-sac in Yukon certainly thought so. They were, by many accounts, your all-American family. No one suspected the darkness lurking behind their closed doors. One acquaintance recalled the frantic attempts to reach them that day. I kept asking Cooper to please snap and text Ethan. I was calling Lindsay and I was messaging Dylan and nobody would respond. The silence was a harbinger of the devastation to come. A neighbor still reeling would later say, "I could live 100,000 lifetimes and never expect this." The shock was and remains palpable. Interviews from just a couple of years prior, in 2022, painted a picture of a vibrant, happy couple. Jonathan with his easy humor talking about his love for breakfast burritos from a local bakery. Lindsay with a sweet tooth for carrot cake despite her last name. They seemed content, their life full. Now, only the youngest son remains from that once complete picture. The deepest horror of this story isn't just the fact of the murders. It's the identity of the person responsible. It would be perhaps a more comprehensible, though still terrible tragedy, if an intruder, a faceless monster, had broken in and committed this atrocity. But that's not what happened here. The devastating truth, as investigators would piece together, is that the architect of this massacre was Jonathan Candy himself. The husband, the father, the man who was supposed to be their protector, their source of love and security. The very person his wife and children looked up to for safety became the one who inexplicably brutally took their lives, and then his own. Those who knew him described Jonathan as a family man. He was seen playing with his kids, always seemed to get along with them. He'd help neighbors mow their lawns. "Anything he needed, he'd be there for you," one said. This image stands in stark, horrifying contrast to the events of April 22nd. Jonathan Candy was 42. He worked part-time at the Paycom Center in Yukon, known for his jokes and laughter that enlivened the arena, especially during the Oklahoma City Thunder's basketball season. He'd married his high school sweetheart, Lindsay Terry. Lindsay, who grew up in Prague, Oklahoma, was remembered for her laughter, her time in the church choir. He was the funny, goofy guy. She was the beautiful young lady swept off her feet by his charm. Their marriage, spanning years and blessed with 4 sons, appeared smooth. No reports of domestic violence, no visible signs of abuse. Their Facebook pages were a gallery of happy family moments, vacations, celebrations, everyday life. Jonathan often told friends and relatives that his family, his children, were his entire world. And then came April 22nd, 2024, a date that would forever be seared into the memory of this community. The youngest son's name has been withheld to protect his privacy in the face of such trauma. What we know is that this brave little boy, just 10 years old, stepped out of his room that morning expecting another normal day. He'd slept through the night, a box fan whirring, masking any sounds from outside. The only thing he recalled was a fire alarm going off briefly during the night, but he drifted back to sleep. Around 9 a.m., his innocent world imploded. He found his family. The scene he encountered is beyond words, beyond comprehension for a child. At 9:30 a.m., his trembling voice reached a 911 dispatcher telling them the unthinkable: his entire family was dead. Police arrived at the Candy home on Check Hall Road. What they found inside was a scene of utter devastation. A massacre. 39-year-old Lindsay Candy shot and killed. Murdered alongside her were her sons, 18-year-old Dylan, the aspiring musician, 14-year-old Ethan, the talented baseball player, and 12-year-old Lucas, the bright, joyful kid. The suspected killer, 42-year-old Jonathan Candy, was also found dead. A self-inflicted gunshot wound. It pointed chillingly to a murder-suicide. But the question screamed silently from the blood-stained walls. Why? Why would a man do this to his own family? The sole survivor, the 10-year-old boy who made that harrowing call, became the focus of immense concern. Investigators noted an unusual aspect: killers in such murder-suicides rarely spare one person, especially a child. Why was he left alive? Was it a last-minute flicker of conscience? A special bond? These are questions that may haunt him and us forever, as the only person who could answer them is gone. Dr. Joni Johnston, a clinical and forensic psychologist involved in the investigation, expressed her shock, noting she'd never seen a case where a parent murdered some children and let one live. Friends and colleagues saw Jonathan just hours before the tragedy. He was at the Thunder Pelicans playoff game, seemingly normal. There were no glaring warning signs, no history of domestic violence, a common precursor in such cases. To this day, a clear motive remains elusive. All that's known is the possibility of an altercation between Jonathan and Lindsay that fateful night. What could have driven a seemingly loving father to such an extreme, one theory explored, is that he killed his wife in a sudden, unpremeditated rage, and then, facing the horrific reality of his actions, decided he couldn't leave his children to deal with the aftermath, or couldn't bear them knowing their father was a murderer. Investigators are also looking into potential financial crises, which can lead to severe depression, distorted thinking, especially when men feel the overwhelming weight of responsibility. Another avenue is hidden mental health challenges. The stigma around seeking help is still very real, and unaddressed mental health issues can lead to devastating consequences. Depression in men often manifests differently. Not as sadness, but as irritability, anger, and isolation, signs that loved ones might not recognize as a cry for help. Let's remember those whose lives were so cruelly cut short. Lindsay Candy, a woman full of laughter, a loving mother. Her childhood friend Cami Cruz recalled their youthful adventures hiding in treehouses, singing side by side in the church choir. Lindsay was so loved and special to many people. Cruz shared, emphasizing how fiercely Lindsay was loved by her boys. Dylan Candy, 18, the oldest. A social young man passionate about drumming and music. He'd just graduated from Mustang High School and was already making his mark in Oklahoma Baptist University's marching band, the Bison Brigade, playing the complex first bass drum. His band director described him as an amazing young man who had a big heart, always happy, always friendly. His bass drum and uniform now stand as a poignant memorial. Ethan Candy, 14, a ninth grader at Mustang North Middle School. An active athletic boy known for his talent in baseball. His coach TJ Armstrong called him Sweet Candy Man, an energetic and committed player with an inspiring spirit and a smile that could light up a room. A memorial bench at the sports complex will honor his memory. And Lucas Candy, just 12 years old, a student at Meadowbrook Intermediate. Full of life, active, smart, always seen playing. He'll be remembered as a bright, joyful kid who loved the outdoors and making new friends. Perhaps the most heartbreaking part of this tragedy is the future of the young survivor. At 10 years old, he faces a life irrevocably altered, a future without his parents or siblings knowing his father was responsible. It's an unimaginable burden. He is now in the care of extended family with the community and social workers rallying to provide every possible support, emotional, psychological, and financial through a GoFundMe campaign. The outpouring of love has been a testament to the good in humanity, even amid such darkness. Jonathan's own family released a statement expressing their utter confusion and devastation, acknowledging the many unanswered questions. Neighbors remembered him as handy and helpful, a great guy. TJ Armstrong, Ethan's coach, chooses to remember the Jonathan he knew, thankful, always giving hugs. His wife Rhonda recalled the laughter the Candy family brought into their lives. These conflicting images make the reality even harder to process. Investigators continue their search for answers, examining Jonathan's interactions for any hint of a declining mental state. But the lack of prior indicators makes finding a clear motive incredibly frustrating. This case, as horrific as it is, serves as a stark reminder. It underscores the critical importance of mental health awareness and the need to break the stigma surrounding seeking help. People who seem happy on the outside can be battling deep inner traumas. It's a call for compassion, for connection, for reaching out to our loved ones and ensuring no one suffers in silence. Authorities have offered support groups and counseling, a crucial step in healing for a community in pain. The Candy family, Jonathan, Lindsay, Dylan, Ethan, and Lucas, were loved by many. Their loss leaves an unfillable void. As friends and family grieve their priority, and ours must be the well-being and support of the young boy who survived this nightmare. He needs all the love and care the world can offer as he navigates an incredibly difficult path ahead. We've come to the end of today's episode. This one was particularly tough. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support means a lot. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.